Hello and welcome to a video where I'm going to open up some Modern Horizons 3 packs. I'm going to build a limited deck. I'm going to talk you all through it if you're new to this kind of thing, so don't worry if that sounds confusing. The first point of order is a big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring this video, reaching out and sending me product ahead of time to talk about this. They're also sending me to pre-release. I'll be at pre-release at Eclectic Games in Reading next weekend on the pre-release for Modern Horizons 3. If you look for the link in the description below, there may still be tickets available to come and play with me at a tournament, at a pre-release event, at a store in Reading. So when you get a pre-release kit, it will have 6 boosters inside of it and a promo. For the purpose of today's recording, I don't actually have the promo with me. I just have 6 Modern Horizons 3 play boosters. The idea of a limited event, if you are this new to Magic, and if you're not this new to Magic, I'm sorry, but some people are, so it's good to kind of cover all bases. But the idea of a limited event is that you show up and you open your packs there and then for the event and build a deck from it. So in this case, we're going to open 6 packs and then talk through how I would go about building a pre-release deck as the professional Magic player that I am, or professional scrub as some might call it. So let's do the really exciting bit, which is opening 6 packs of Modern Horizons 3. There's an energy reserve token in the back because energy is a key part of this set. And then we've got Hex Gold Slith, Galvanic Discharge, Petrifying Meddler, Accursed Marauder, it's better, Flashback Marauder, Horrific Assault, Writhing Chrysalis, Titan's Vanguard, Ghostfire Slice, a Snow-Covered Wastes, Bridgework Battle, Priest of Titania, Power Balance, and a Conduit Goblin, and a Plains with some really cool, like the Norns Annex sort of like cityscape. Modern Horizons 3 is full of these cards that are callbacks to previous things. So Priest of Titania, for example, is a classic Magic the Gathering card that has existed in Magic for quite some time that was never available in the modern format. It was never legal because it was never put into a modern set. So Modern Horizons has bypassed standard and printed Priest of Titania straight into modern, and I genuinely look forward to playing Elves with Priest of Titania in it in mod. Beyond that, there are new cards. So they've got the classic reprints of things like Priest of Titania. We also have things like Power Balance, which is a brand new card from Modern Horizons 3 that makes a callback or homage to a classic card. In the case of Power Balance, the homage is to counterbalance. But instead of countering your opponent's stuff, you get to cast things if your spells cost the same amount. So back to the whole tournament playing sealed thing. When I'm opening packs of Magic cards for an event like this, what I'm looking to do is to make piles that help me to color code and figure out what I've got available to me. So what I'm doing is I'm making my gold pile, I'm making my black, red, green, red. I'm going to keep rares separate because it's always good to try and find out if you've got powerful bombs in your rare slot, essentially. The other thing as well is that I know devoid cards aren't technically red, but really it matters about the mana cost. What I mean by that is, whilst Ghostfire Slice is not red, it's devoid, which is a returning mechanic from Battle for Zendikar. It being a red mana symbol means that I'm going to cast it with red mana, and thus if I'm playing red-green, I might play Ghost Slice as one of my removal spells. And in limited, 4 damage for 3 mana is pretty good. 4 damage for 1 mana is even better if they have a multicolored permanent. Green, red, blue, black, white, multicolor, which will sort a bit better later, and potential bombs. I don't think Power Balance is that good in limited. You might get free spells off it, but paying 2 mana and a card to put just an enchantment to play that might do nothing is not good. I'm not going to read out the names of every single card we open at this point, although I am going to stop on things I haven't seen yet. Electrozoa is a 3 mana 3/1 flash flying, enter the battlefield, get 2 energy at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, tap Electrozoa unless you pay 1 energy. So it's a flash flyer that's slightly undercosted for its CMC to power, but you're a downside of having to pay energy to keep it around, I guess. Not all that exciting. Scaleless Sentry, got a Brood Scale, lands will go over here for now. Multicolor, red, blue, white. Where do I put my black? I'm so confused. I've messed my piles up, something chronic. Trying to read cards and talk to camera will cause me to make all sorts of errors. I guess I need a colorless slot as well. We'll put those down there for now. Ooh, we opened our first mythic. We opened a Static Prison in our foil, and a Grist Voracious Lava here, which is one of the Flip Walkers. So that's kind of bomby. It's a 1/2 Death Toucher, which is reasonable in limited because it can block massive creatures and cause quite a brick wall. But the fact that it can flip and then create you bodies every single turn, whilst also allowing you to destroy artifacts and enchantments, is pretty strong. There is a downside to Grist's uptick, that is milled 2 cards, which isn't a huge downside in 60 card or 100 card commander, but in limited you tend to play a 40 card deck, so upticking Grist in your limited pile might be difficult in a long grindy game because you might end up just decking yourself. So you've got to keep that in mind as we build our deck. This thing has some sick art. 4 mana 5/6 vehicle that can be crewed for 4, and it has pay 4 energy, it becomes a creature. It also taps to gain you 2 energy. It taps and pay 2 energy to tap target creature, and tap and pay 3 energy to draw a card. That seems like a really good payoff for energy. So that's the other thing. We're looking at like our limited bombs in our mythic and rare slot. But in reality, what we're also looking for is linchpin uncommons or commons that signpost us into certain decks. Bespoke Battle Wagon, for example, feels like a very dirty energy, both payoff and engine. So that's pretty strong there. So that's a card that might push us into the energy deck. And I'm just going to sort my cards a bit more. Oh, big fatties in this format, thanks to the inclusion of the Eldrazi. Our next rare is Echoes of Eternity. So it's 6 mana, 3 colorless and 3. If a triggered ability of color spell you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers additional time. Whenever you cast a color spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copies. So basically, if we get Echoes of Eternity into play first, which is 6 entire mana, including 3 colors, so it's not that easy and limited. But then we cast either like an 8 mana colorless creature, for example, or more importantly, a devoid spell like Ghostfire Slice, for example. We would actually, because it's devoid, although it's cast with red mana, it would double or we get a copy of it thanks to Echoes of Eternity. That's quite a fun deck to try and build around. Another foil white card, a beautiful foil plains there with some Kaladesh style like air swirls. Air swirls? What the fuck am I talking about? Cloud swirls, shall we say. Cool. Oh, and a gorgeous art card too. Next pack. I'm going to put my Echoes back in my bomb pile there. So we're doing a bit more sorting, because I'm going to have a proper look through my deck in a moment, or my pools, should I say. For those who don't know, when you've got a collection of cards that isn't a deck yet, it's called a pool, and you build from your pool, because you can only build using cards in your pool. Toxic Deluge. Okay, this is pretty strong. So Wraths in Limited are really good because your opponents will tend to overextend because you want to get around opposing blockers and break through quite grinding games and not take it too long. Deluge allows you to Wrath the board and reset it. And Deluge can also be one-sided if your creatures are bigger than theirs. That's a pretty good hit here. Invert Polarity is counter target spell for 3 mana. Flip a coin. If you win the flip, you get to gain control of that spell instead, which is pretty cool. And then we've got foils and a Phyrexian Germ. So far, my rares aren't pushing me in any particular direction. Echoes of Eternity is tempting. I think that's more trying to live the meme than playing a good deck. But to be honest, Prerelease is so casual and so relaxed that you don't need to rock up and try and play like the strongest thing you've ever seen. It is okay to just rock up and try. Oh, I love Junk Dive. It used to be rare. If it dies, return another artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. You get some good loops with that bad boy. We've got Volatile Storm. It's the energy card that steals another creature. Oh, we've got the Free Flare, which copies a spell. Not that exciting and limited again. A Path of Annihilation. Oh, 4 mana Devoid. This is not a rare, but I'm quite excited for this for the Eldrazi deck in limited at least. 4 mana rare. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creatures with sacrifice these creatures out of colorless mana to them. So ETB trigger, get 2 bodies. Eldrazi spawn, you have to have tap for mana of any color, so it fixes your mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, gain 4 life. That's pretty decent. That's quite a good build around. What was I saying? Yeah, pre-release is so relaxed. So if you've never really been to a limited event or a limited tournament before, please, my recommendation would do pre-releases. Back in the day, before I made content and Magic became my job, and thus I wasn't, outside of it being my job, I don't play as much Magic as I kind of would have done at certain points of the year, mainly pre-release. What I'm saying is I used to go to pre-releases. I used to spend a whole weekend at pre-release, just doing like 4 pre-releases, because they were really, really fun. Flare of Fortitude. We've got the white flare and a green foil there. So I used to go to pre-releases all the time, and I still try and attend them now, even when I'm not being sent by Wizards of the Coast, because I enjoy the experience and the environment. But what I'm getting at is that they were just such a relaxed and good social experience for playing Magic that you could just hang out with people. It'd be pretty chill. You'd meet players from all walks of life, whether they be aspiring pros to a lesser extent with your local competitive scene, to the people who only attend pre-release for each set and just play limited then. And also, because it's limited, the field is kind of evened up a little bit. The people with more experience and knowledge of both the game, the format, and the set will obviously edge ahead. And that's quite good. Limited is quite a skill testing format in that sense. But it also removes this idea that you've got to rock up with an expensive, already powered up deck that you've built. You can actually go along and play on a more even playing field because you're all looking to play with a limited pool of cards. It's in the name, really. So at this stage, what I'm going to do is look through what I think are my bombs and look for playable bomb-like cards in other colours too, to try and figure out what colours I'll be in. So bear with me a moment while I do that. So I'm now sorting my curve out and making some cuts. I ended up on green-blue big Eldrazi with a slight splash of red. Now the splash of red is mainly for 2 colourless Eldrazi. I decided not to end up playing the counterspell. The rare counterspell that I opened, Invert Polarity, although it's on the chopping block. I mean, only needing 1 red means I could still play it. The big stuff has drawn me in. I do like playing green and limited, as people might know. So what I do now is I put my non-creatures down on the bottom, and I put my creatures at the top, and I fan them out into like the mana costs. And that allows me to figure out how many creatures I've got, because I need to have a certain number of creatures so I can attack, block, and basically win a game of limited, because limited is won by attacking and blocking. And on top of that, it allows me to see if my curve is too hard or too heavy in one particular part. It gets complicated because like Idol of the False Gods, for example, creates 0/1 Eldrazi every turn for 2 mana, as long as I've got a colourless source available. So it's technically a creature 2 or a source of creatures. This makes 2 bodies when it enters the battlefield. So it's kind of like a 4 mana, 2 bodies, and then it's got the extra stuff as well. So I'm going to actually put that in the creature pick. There's no work needed. I cast it, I make bodies, which can both block and attack if I get to big boys. 7 and upwards is going to be here, because 7 is like a key part of the set. And then, yeah, hopefully we can get our curve sorted now. The Battle Wagon was originally in because I was going to play a load of energy, but I think I've got some energy cuts now because I'm not really playing any energy payoffs if I don't play the Bespoke Battle Wagon. This Shrieking Drake is a 1 mana card from Visions that ETBs. It's got flying, it's a 1/1, and it makes you put a creature back into your hand, which is the downside that you have to pay to get a 1/1 flyer, which was quite rare for a 1/1 flyer for 1 back in the day. Or for a little while it was anyway. But obviously, it's designed also to give you the upside. The upside being that I can recast creatures that have good ETBs or good cast triggers. So that's why I'm playing it. Volatile Stormdrake steals one of their creatures, although it can only steal and keep a 4 CMC or lower, but I think that's still relevant, although it does give them a 3/2 flyer for 2. It's quite aggressively statted in terms of what you give to them. I'm going to play Echoes of Eternity because you don't go to Prerelease not to fuck about, and that's what Echoes is there for. And then Titan's Vanguard and Writhing Chrysalis are 2 examples of me splashing red in order to get access to... this card is nuts. Whenever you cast the spell or whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each colours creature you control. So it buffs your Scions and your Spawn as well. And this one says, whenever you cast a spell, create 2 Scions, the 0/1s. It's got reach, and whenever you sacrifice another Eldrazi, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, so sacrificing your Scions for mana will grow it as well. And then Snapping Void Claw is a 2 mana producing, also draws you a card, 1/3 with the Void, which goes on a 3-drop slot. Up here, these cards don't get counted in our main mana base, in our main like card pool base, because all of them flip into lands. All of the 2-color ones are tapped, but they're still good because they count as a land slot that can also be a spell in a pinch. In this case, draw 2 cards, discard a card unless you discard 2 energy. Either way, I'm just playing as a dual land that helps with the splash color. And then both of these are shock lands on the back, or bolt lands. They cost you 3 life to play. You've got Bridgework Battle at 3 mana, which is target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights up to 1 target creature you don't control, so it's a removal spell for my big fatties to kill their stuff. Or it's a land. And then Disciple of Prerelease is Disciple of Bolus, but colour shift into green. It's a bolt land on the back. Then for 6 mana, we get 3/3 that when it ETBs, you sacrifice another creature, so not itself, any other creature. And you draw cards and gain life equal to its power. So if I sack like a 6/8, for example, draw 6 cards, gain 6 life, is kind of nuts. In limited, is absolutely backbreaking. So, outside of lands, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 cards. I'm not going to play 18 lands, so I get 1 more slot. I get 23 cards and 17 lands. You can go down to 16 lands if you're playing super low curve, like you don't get above 4. But if even though the higher reaches here, you want to be on 17 or 18 lands. But I've got like multiple cards, at least 2 or 3 that create mana on their own. I've got 4 or 5 sources of creating Scions that sack for mana. So again, that gives me that little leeway to go down to 17 from 18, even though I'm playing a 7-drop and an 8-drop. And the upside of my 7-drop is that it has cycling. So for 3 mana, I can discard it, draw a card, and then I create a Scion when I cycle it. And my 8-drop has Emerge, so I can pay less if I burst it out of another creature. Whenever you cast a spell, tap 2 target permanents and put stun counts on them too. If I Emerge this with Echo of Eternity in my hand, I actually get to tap 4 of their creatures and stun them for a turn, which is pretty good. It's pretty strong. What's my 23rd card going to be? I'm not playing Grist, 1/2 Death Toucher for 1, because flipping it involves me playing a creature out of the graveyard. And I just basically don't have that option. There's no way for me to actually do that in this deck. So it's unflippable. And a 1 mana 1/2 with Death Touch it's an okay like spot in your deck. Like it's okay, but if you have better cards, I'd rather play better cards. Oh, I missed this on my first look through. This card's pretty good. 5 mana, Devoid, Reach, 7/5 with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, reveal it and you may put it into your hand. If you don't put it into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. The reason that's good and limited, other than being a 7/5 Reacher for 5 mana, which is quite undercosted in terms of its stats. Normally 5 mana for a 5/5 is where you want to be at with some extra text. The fact that landfall was going to trigger and then allow you to get cards off the top of your library or filter cards you don't want into your bin or creatures into your hand, especially if you've got a high creature count, which we kind of have. The other reason for that is that you want your lands in limited to do something later in the game. Once we get the 5 or 6 mana, we've kind of really got 2 cards we can cast, and even they can cost less in our game plan, like I just mentioned. So really, making all of your lands be able to do this thing where they trigger and potentially draw you a card effectively is very strong. Does up our curve, but I think I'm okay with that. And then the other reason why I thought a little red splash for these 2 cards here and Ghostfire as a removal spell was because we've got a green-red fetch land in Sheltering Landscape. And we've got a green, red, blue fetch land in Bountiful Promenade. And then we've also got blue, red, black in Seething Landscape. Now, red, obviously we're playing like 1 mountain, maybe 2 mountains at most. But the other reason I'm going to play the Seething Landscape, even though we may never actually really fetch for it, is that all 3 of these lands then produce colourless mana. And colourless mana allows us to activate or cast our colourless spells, which... in this case, we've got Echoes of Eternity costs 3 colourless. We've got Glaring Fleshraker costs 1 colourless. And we've got a couple of activated abilities as well to draw cards that, in the case of Snapping Voidcore, cost you a colourless mana too. Now, we have colourless activations off of Sage of Unknowables. That's 1 colourless there. Snapping Voidclaw also, or Claw, should I say, sorry, Eldrazi Turtle, gives you 2 colourless mana, like the triangular diamond stuff that allows you to cast these things. So we do have access to it in our decks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I guess I'd be very, very tempted just to run one of these. Like, this can go and become a forest at a pinch. It puts it in the battlefield tap, so it's a slow forest, but it just gives you another colourless source. And now we have 2 creatures that make it, and 4 lands. Like, the other option is to include a Wastes as like a basic land, but we don't really have any basic land fetching in our deck. We don't have a green card that just goes and searches for a basic land in our deck. So we're better off playing this one here that is a colourless land like a Wastes, and then in a pinch, if we're struggling for our green one game, we can crack it to go find green. So from there, we've got 4 colourless sources. We've got 2 green sources in our Bolt lands. I just realised my framing is quite off. You can't really see very well there. And then we've got a red-blue land, like I said, which helps with the splash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That leaves us with 10 lands left. We've got green, 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 green. So like 4 of these 5 here are green. So we're probably going to play 4 green, 3 blue, or 4 green, 4 blue. Oh, blue pips are real low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So probably going to be 5, 3, and 2 for the mountains. I think 3 red sources is probably too many. So maybe we go up another forest there. But either way, that's our deck. That is our deck. I would love to hear if you think I missed something. Like some of the things we didn't play, just so you know, things that I cut, was It the Hell's the End is a 2 mana creature that requires colourless mana, and thus I felt like it was a bit of a suspect, like early turn play, because we may not have our creatures that can cast them either. However, I think it's playable, and it might be more playable than the Shrieking Drake, for example. Invoke Polarity does seem very strong. 3 mana counter spell does revolve around us having both double blue and one of our splash colours up. That's why I'm not keen on it, because we are primarily a green deck. So I don't think we can play that. And then we've got a load of energy cards, which I don't think we play. And then in terms of other things, we've got like Void Pouncer. It's a 3/1 for 2 mana. Or it's a 5/4 with Haste and Trample for 5 mana, including the colours, which makes it like a Reality Smasher. Obviously, I described Gris. I don't think Gris was ever playable in our deck. I'm not playing Power Balance. I'm not playing Flare. Flare is like unplayable at 0 mana because we don't have those cards, so it's going to be a 3 mana copy of spell, not good enough. Deluge is splashable, but I think splashing red for these powerful Eldrazi payoffs in Writhing Chrysalis and Titan's Vanguard, I think that's probably better. And there's like Lion Umbra, and I guess Priest of Titania does just tap for green as a thing. It's just like a mana dork at 2 mana. The other thing to remember is that we've got access to colours of Path of Annihilation. So our Scions that we make off of this, that we make off of Glaring Fleshraker, that we make off of Whipped Tusker and Petrifying Meddler, I think makes them as well. No, that stuns things. Oh, Scion Creation. Oh, Idol of the False Gods is another Scion. But those Scions can pay the colours for Echoes of Eternity as well. And also with this, all of our Eldrazi tap for any colour of mana. So like our mana fixing is very good when we cast Path of Annihilation. I think our deck looks really sweet. I think this is kind of luring me down a garden path of Echoes of Eternity, but I think playing Eldrazi Nomicon in Limited does seem pretty fun. It does trigger the vast majority of our creatures. We obviously want to be careful that we don't accidentally make 2 copies of this by casting it. And then when it enters the battlefield trigger, we get 4 copies and then give them 4 creatures out of the hand. We want to make sure... Ooh, interestingly, if you Wampus up Echoes, the copy always triggers and gives them a creature. Yeah, because you never get to spend mana on the copy. So if you cast a Wampus, the second copy of Wampus that you get, because you get a copy of your colorless spell, ETBs and triggers, if a trigger ability of a colorless spell you control, one of the colors permanent you control, triggers. So the second Wampus will trigger twice and give your opponent 2 creatures. So try not to non-bow by casting a Wampus with Echoes of Eternity in play. What I really want to do is pay 1 colorless mana into this and make a 4 mana 6/6 to void creature. There's an argument that Wampus could be cut, if I'm honest. I mean, like, Temperamental Ozark, this is the problem. The format is so powerful. There's so many cool and powerful things you can do with it. It's going to be very fun to draft, but it makes it very hard for card evaluation. So Temperamental Oozewag adapts to put 2 counters on it, becomes a 6/6. And then creatures you control that are modified, so they've got counters or enchantments on them, or artifacts on them, equipment, sorry. They have Trample. And it adapts itself. We've got another adapter somewhere else as well. We've got a Nyxborn Hydra, which is an enchantment that powers up something else, and it's adapted itself when it enters the battlefield with the counters on it. And then we've got, like, put a counter on a thing, untap it, give it Death Toll, give it Reach, which is such an insane combat trick that also combos with giving one of our ridiculous Eldrazi Trample through the Temperamental Oozewag. And then we've got removal, we've got a fight spell, we've got a pacifism spell, we've got our little idol that becomes a big body but also makes Eldrazi Scions, we've got like our card advantage of Malevolent Rumble. This deck is fucking cool. I really want to play with it. Also, there was another card in here that I wanted to quickly highlight before we end the video. Am I not playing it? The thing that pings them? Oh, this one. No, this one makes Scions, and when you sacrifice Eldrazi it gets bigger. Yeah, it's Glaring Fleshraker. Fuck me, this card is cool. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn. So every one of your Eldrazi makes a spawn. And then whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, which includes your colorless creature that you've cast, plus the Eldrazi spawn that it creates, that's 2 triggers there, deal 1 damage to each opponent. So it just pings down your opponent like an impact tremor, only for Eldrazi. That's my kind of durdle. Big creatures pinging your opponent down. Oh, it's like bees, it's like impact tremors, like Perforos. It's like the stuff I like to play. Anyway, that's my limit deck. It's a shame not making it for a video because this feels like the kind of deck that I want to play at pre-release. But hopefully I can make something similar. I'm very excited for pre-release. If you want to check out pre-release, there will be a link to it in the description below for the one I'm going to. If you can't get to my one, try and check out one at your local store, build yourself a seal pool, and get involved. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Let me know what you think of my deck. Let me know what you think of Modern Horizons 3. And let me know if you're going to pre-release or getting to draft this at all. I'm going to be drafting the shit out of this on stream and in videos too. That's it. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.